tonight. So if you guys were not with us last class, we're working on a singular submission this week. Our focus is the straight ankle lock and understanding not only the submission aspect of it, but more importantly, the control aspect of it. Understanding how to utilize the standard Ashi Garami position to not only submit our opponent, but also threaten coming up with a sweep. And additionally, what we're going to work on today is how to stay safe with this attack. Because like we mentioned on Tuesday, the straight ankle lock is the only leg attack that white belts are allowed to use. And we want to make sure that we have a really good understanding of the mechanics of how to stay safe. That's what we're going to work on primarily tonight. But before we get to that, I'd like us to warm up with a little leg dexterity exercise. Now, we were working on a position called standard Ashi Garami last class, which is where we attack the straight ankle lock. What I'd like to work on today is a little re-entry drill where we're going to have our opponent defend and strip the bottom frame. We're then going to switch to the opposite side of the Ashi Garami position. Okay, guys? We're going to be working from one leg to the other, back and forth. I'll demonstrate this drill quickly. It'll look like this. So I'm utilizing double lever control to maintain positional control, so that way my partner doesn't strip the grip and then come up on top. Let's talk about some of the details real quick. So we're starting with standard Ashi. If you were not with us last class, we'll have you jump in with someone who was. This is essentially just the single leg X position, but we're sitting down on our butts. So I'm going to start here in standard Ashi. My partner is going to strip the bottom frame, pushing it down to the mat. This is a defensive maneuver. We'll talk about this in a moment. Once he does this, though, I need to understand that I've lost our primary frame for Ashi Garami. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get double lever control. So I'm going to grab both of my opponent's legs. I'm just kind of cupping the calf muscles. I'm now going to extract my hips. So I'm going to hip escape out as I turn, and I'm going to slide in to Ashi Garami on the other side. Now, if my partner strips that foot down, I'm going to do the same thing. Regardless of whether or not he jumps his hips over top of the foot, it doesn't matter, guys. The moment he strips the grip here, I'm again, double lever control, hip escape out, turn to the other side, re-engage the position. Remember our positional concepts. I'm trying to create a closed loop as best as I can by projecting the top knee, making sure that I'm framing with the heel, using the toes of my foot to act as a secondary frame. Alrighty, guys. So if you were not with us, I'll pair you up with someone who was. Let's work this drill. I want you to do 30-second rounds, so just nice and quick movement and switching to warm up. Does anyone have any questions? Would anyone like to see the movements again? Yep, one more time. Okay, so I'm starting here in standard Ashi. He strips the bottom frame. I'm going to go double lever control. That way he cannot stand up. I extract my hips. I come over, and now I'm going to insert my knee as I slide up to standard Ashi on the opposite side. When he strips this foot down, I'm going to extract my hips, insert my knee, and slide into standard Ashi on the opposite side. All right, I'll real quick demonstrate without talking from the rear. So no matter where he goes as he's trying to escape, I'm constantly threatening both sides of the leg attack. Legs, remember, are very sort of double-sided because we have parallel sticks that we're trying to attack. So let's gain the ability to move and switch sides. Alrighty, guys, let's partner up, find someone similar-ish in size, and then we'll get to work. Let's go 1, 2. Okie dokie, guys. So again, last class we were working on attacking the straight ankle lock. If you weren't with us, we're not focusing too much on the actual submission today. That's what we did last class. We're focusing more so on the defensive side of it. Now, one thing I want to mention, though, in jiu-jitsu, one of the most powerful aspects about what we do is that we're able to take offensive movements and then reverse engineer them to allow us to learn how to defend them. If I know the mechanics behind how to attack a straight ankle lock, I'm also learning the mechanics of how to defend the straight ankle lock. I'm going to defend everything that I would do if I were to attack. Okay? So I'm just going to very quickly demonstrate the straight ankle lock for those of you who are not with us. Starting from standard Ashi here. I'm going to control the ankle, extract my hips, re-include my hips. Now I'm creating inversion of his foot to allow me to start to access and break the foot here as I drive my hips forward. This is not a pain compliance technique. I'm not trying to just wrench on his leg and make it hurt. I'm trying to invert his foot and break it. I'm trying to attack the ligaments and the metatarsals, the tiny bones on the top of the foot. Now, what we're going to work on right now is we're going to work on our very earliest stage defense against the straight ankle lock. Now, the reason that we want to focus on defending the straight ankle lock in particular is because it can be a pretty scary submission, especially when someone's doing it like very, very gung-ho and they're trying to really go at your foot. It can be scary, so we want to learn how to defend it. Like all of our defensive modules, we work in a early, middle, and then late stage sort of progression. So first, we're going to work very, very early stage. So early, in fact, that our opponent is not even in standard Ashi. They're going to be starting on the feet, wrapping up our ankle, and trying to then go to standard Ashi. So the first thing we need to learn how to do is extract our foot so that way we can stay in a safe position. Let's take a look. So if I'm playing guard, very commonly, my opponent will attack the straight ankle lock from here. If I'm in seated guard, well, obviously he's not going to attack the straight ankle lock. It's when I have presented him with the levers here. As he wraps up my leg, I need to get my foot out of this position. Very simple. It looks like this. Okay, he wraps it up again. So what am I doing? As soon as he wraps up my ankle, this is an obvious tell that he's going to attack the straight ankle lock. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my free leg and I'm going to frame his hip. Now, I can use this as a kick if I want to be a little bit mean about it, but we're really just using it as a frame to maintain the distance between the two of us. This frame is going to allow me to elevate my hips as I turn my knee down. Look what that exposes. It exposes my heel. So now I can slip my heel out from his grip. Again, as he wraps it, I frame with my opposite foot, lift my hips, rotate, and extract. This is a very, very early stage, okay? So early, in fact, that I want you to play with this a little bit, but we're also going to talk about the next layer, all right, which we'll look at in a moment. So one more time, guys. We're going to start on our back. I'm just playing like a recumbent guard. He wraps the foot. I'm framing on his hip. Elevate. I'm going to rotate knee down as I extract the heel and right back to my guard. Let's now look at our early stage in the form of them actually going to the position. When we're attacking the straight ankle lock, we mentioned last class how you don't want to be that guy who grabs onto a straight ankle lock and then just falls to their back to try to finish it. That is a very good way to just give up a sweep. That's exactly what we need to do defensively. When our opponent grabs our ankle and just falls back to attack the ankle lock, we're going to follow them. We're going to ride the momentum of their movement and come up on top. Let's take a look. So he grabs my ankle. As he starts to sit down, I'm going to come up on top. So this is not, let's be very clear here, this is not a good thing to do, right? We do not attack a straight ankle lock by just grabbing it and then falling to our back. There are far more effective entries. However, this is very common for people who don't really know how to attack the straight ankle lock well, so it's critical that we learn how to do this. Let's take a look again. So my partner grabs my ankle. Perhaps I was late with the frame and extraction. He's going to step forward. As he sits down, I want to use his momentum that is rolling backwards, as well as a pendulum kick on my opposite leg to put this knee, the free leg, on the mat. Now notice, my opposite hand, I'll show this in a different angle in a moment, is posting to create frame. That way he can't drive me over. And now my foot finds the floor. As soon as I have my foot on the floor, we're going to stand up, and now I am safe from the straight ankle lock. As a leg locker, you cannot submit your opponent when their foot is on the mat. Why? Because we need to gain lever access of that foot. If my foot's connected to the floor, you need to get it off the mat. Now, for those of you who are unsure, this is now a position called single leg X. We'll stop here for right now. If you know how to pass single leg X, feel free to go ahead and pass, okay? So we could look to back step or look to kick and run to extract. If you're familiar, feel free to add that in there. All right, let's look at our early stage defense again from this perspective. He grabs, he's gonna sit down to standard Ashi. I rock up and put my weight heavy on my foot. So I'm actually driving my weight forward. If I'm leaning back like this, now he can start to tip me using the single leg X and continue to attack the ankle lock. So I'm really trying to lean heavy on that front foot to make it difficult for him to get my foot off the mat. Alrighty guys, I'll demonstrate once more without talking. Go from, let's do this rear side. We haven't done this one yet. Okay, so again, I'm playing guard here. Okay, notice my alignment at the end, okay? Good base, posture, structure. I'm not leaning over, giving him obvious levers to access. I'm nice and rigid, okay, guys? So again, we're gonna practice primarily our early stage, but also that little sort of very early technique of just extracting the foot, okay, guys? When we do this, let's do both of those back to back, okay? So he'll grab up the ankle, I extract, he grabs it again and falls back, I come up on top, and notice how this leg is like the rudder of a boat. This leg is modulating to allow me to maintain the force vector so that he doesn't just drive me back over. Alrighty, guys, let's work this. Any questions? Let's go, 1, 2. So, any questions so far? Very early stage, which obviously should be our priority, right? Deal with the problem as soon as it's arising, so that way we don't get sucked into a really dangerous situation. Very early stage with the heel coming out, and then from there, if your opponent does a bad single leg, straight ankle lock entry, use that to come up on top of them. For those of you who are curious, for those of you who compete, if that right there transpired and I come up on top, if I'm able to get my foot out from the straight ankle lock grip, I would get 2 points because I technically swept him because he went down, I came up, okay? So just keep that in mind. Use this as a positional advantage tool, right? Come up on top of your opponent when they're sloppily attacking the foot. So we've had our early stage defenses. Now let's look middle stage. Now we're gonna start down this time, just from standard Ashi, okay? And my opponent's gonna go ahead and wrap up the ankle. So from here, we're starting middle stage, meaning that my opponent has not yet fallen to the strong side. There's 2 sides of the leg lock sort of system that we can attack from. The strong side is the side of the leg that he's attacking. He wants to lay on that side. That's what we were working on Tuesday, laying on the side. The weak side would be with the trapped leg up above. He does not want my leg on this side. This side would be more for transitional movements that involve things like reaping the knee, which are completely illegal for white belts to do. So, we're gonna work on a middle stage defense right now. He's grabbed my ankle, but he has not yet fallen to the strong side. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm again going to use this to come up on top of him. I'm gonna take my outside arm and I'm gonna cover his knee. And from here, I'm gonna come up all the way. I'll show you what it looks like. Here we go. And again, I'm coming up here, finishing in single leg X. Now let's talk about first that preliminary grip that I used. I'm taking my arm on the same side of the leg that's being attacked, and I'm hooking his knee. Now this serves 2 purposes. Number 1, this keeps me anchored to him so that he doesn't start to stretch me out and expose the leg. But number 2, it helps me maintain his rotation. It makes it so that it's harder for him to now fall to the strong side. I'm essentially holding him up. Now again, I'm not gonna sit here all day and just expect me to be invincible. As soon as I grab this, I'm using it to help me rotate to the weak side. So I'm gonna rotate my body weight as I post my hand over to the weak side. Now, just like you did before, we're gonna come up on top, but we don't have the momentum to just kind of ride up, which is fine. I'm just gonna use my knee here to start to drive my weight forward. Notice how my knee opens to match my direction here. And now I use my active toes and my hand to push. As I do this though, I'm going to start to replace my hand gripping the knee to a collar grip. This is going to allow me to access this like a grappling hook sort of movement, right? Where I'm gonna kind of grab and then pull myself towards him. This helps me get close, making it harder for him to stretch me out. Remember, to finish the straight ankle lock, he needs to create extension and then rotation of that joint. So if we rewind quickly here. So again, he has me in, just standard Ashi. He's just grabbing my foot. Again, he's not yet fallen to the side, so we still have a minute to work. Now, one quick note that I'll add in here is notice my foot, okay? This is often a very underlooked sort of technique. My foot is actually flexed. Now, we talked about how last class, in order to finish the straight ankle lock, we're gonna rotate that foot. However, as I'm flexing my foot, I'm constantly driving it forward. Because what did we say? When we're rotating that foot, we wanna be at the end of the lever. If we're choking up on their calf, it's not gonna be as effective. So that's what I'm gonna force. I'm gonna force my foot forward so he's choking up on my calf muscle now. It buys me a little bit of extra time. Some people call this putting on the boot because I'm kind of putting my foot into a boot. All right, guys? But this would always be automatic. Anytime someone grabs my foot and we're sitting, I'm just gonna stick my foot forward. All right? Again, cover his knee, rotate to the opposite side, fold, and come up. Now look, my hand goes from this knee to his collar. I'm now going to pull myself forward and come up here into single leg X. Once I'm here, again, if you're familiar, work to pass. Now, if we rotate quickly, I just want to mention one little detail. Believe it or not, this is actually a dangerous escape if the rule set is allowing for reaping and heel hooks. Okay, so I just want to make sure that we're all clear. When I turn my knee this way internally, I'm exposing my heel, which if we're allowed to attack heel hooks is not a good idea. This also allows him, because I'm turning internally, to reap the knee and bring this foot underneath. Okay, we're not worried about that. So this is a totally fine escape. That's why I wanted to show this one first. Alrighty, guys, I'll demonstrate once more from this perspective. All right, guys, so he's sitting down. He has not yet fallen to the strong side. So I put the boot on and stomp, rotate, collar, come up on top. All right, guys, I'll show once more, slow motion without talking. Here we go. All right, again, heavy foot. I'm really leaning on that. All right, if he's able to just pull my foot off the floor, well, got to be stronger. All righty, guys. Any questions on this middle stage defense, Gabe? That's a great question. As soon as I build base on my far leg, if we come here real quick, Gabe, as soon as I get this knee on the mat and my weight transferred to this hand, I can let go. Because now my whole weight's leaning forward. It's going to be difficult for him to take me that way. So now I can grab and I really shove my leg in there. Okay? Great question. Melissa?
I know we don't use violent strength on skill, but I can't help but think that if your partner is like really fighting against you, are you going to be able to stand up?
Yeah, absolutely. Because his legs are only so long. What I'm doing is I'm moving essentially around his legs. Okay? I use this escape against Professor Gene, the strongest dudes imaginable, right? I use this escape against them all the time because I'm not trying to fight towards them. I'm not trying to go into their legs. I'm moving around their legs and I'm just building my base. As soon as my foot gets to the mat, we're relatively safe. We just need to then build our base. Great question. Alrighty, guys, let's work this middle stage defense and then we'll finish talking late stage. All right, let's go 1, 2. All right, any questions on our middle stage defense? Honestly, this is the one I probably use the most because if you get good at the timing, it's relatively easy. The second they grab that ankle, we just roll to the weak side and come up, okay? Now, let's talk about late stage. So late stage, we need to preface this with focus on your health first, right? Your health and your safety. You know, if you feel like you're hurting your ankle, just tap and move on, okay? That's the ultimate defense. But if we need to escape, let's escape. So here's what we're gonna do. The problem now is that our opponent has not only wrapped up the ankle, but they've fallen to the strong side. So go ahead and wrap that ankle, coach. All right, so boom. Now we're here. He is on the strong side with the straight ankle lock. You can still try to brute force your way to roll over. Okay, you can still try to do that. That's fine. But the problem is that he's going to be applying the submission as all this is happening. So you might, if you need to, you can risk a pop to come up and defend that way. Okay, if it's like the final 30 seconds of the final match, go for it. If you want to risk a pop, come on up. It's fine. Okay, you'll survive. But if you're asking me, in training, I'm not going to risk a pop. Okay, so here's what we need to do. We need to change the angle and the orientation of our leg in relation to his grip to allow us to get our foot into a position where we can come up safely. So I'm going to demonstrate how we're going to escape from this position, and then we'll talk about it. Here we go. Okay, so now I'm finishing in like a modified S-mount position. You know, we can talk about what to do from here, but let's look again on that defense. We've got to be proactive, guys, okay? If I sit here and just kind of think, what's happening? You're going to get your foot broken, all right? So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to take my top hand. I'm going to push his foot down to the mat. Now, I'm doing this so that I remove the frame from my hip. So now my hip is mobile. If you forget, the 3 ingredients for every leg lock in jiu-jitsu are immobilizing their hips, controlling the rotation of their knee, and then accessing a lever. We've now cleared the foot from our hips so our hips are mobile. So look what I'm going to do. I'm going to jump my hips over that foot. Okay, if you want to be mean, you can literally sit on their ankle, okay? But we don't want to sit there too long. I'm going to jump my hips over top of his foot. Okay, this is what we did in the beginning with that swishing drill. But now once I'm here, because I've moved my hips over top of his leg, look at his knees. His knees are now low and pinched together. We can now very easily palm his top knee and project our hips forward over top of his legs. This is again going to take us into like a modified S mount. It's modified because he's not on his back. All right, but again, I'm going to drive my weight up here. Now, if he holds onto my ankle, it's kind of a fool's errand. More commonly, the opponent will start to frame and push us away. He's going to frame with his top arm, please, coach. Freeze, freeze, freeze. Okay, come on back. All right, so let's reset the clock real quick, guys. So come back down, coach. All right, so again, I jump over. I push the foot. As I come up, he's going to use his top arm, exactly, to frame me and push me away. So he's abandoning the ankle lock, so we're golden. Okay, this now presents an opportunity for us to attack an arm bar, which we can talk about in a little bit. Let's look again at the escape slow. So he's grabbed my ankle, he's on the strong side. Notice how my hand is still in base, okay? I want to use this hand to help maintain my alignment. Push the foot down, move your hips over, and then immediately I'm palming the top leg. I'm now going to lift my hips up and push my hips forward. Now, if he frames me like this, we can start to attack the armbar, okay? If you know belly down arm bars, you can start to attack them from here. If he doesn't, we can start to fish it out even and start to attack the armbar, but I don't really want you guys to worry too much about the submission at the end. I want you to just be aware that we can lead to a submission from here. Let's look again from a different perspective. All right, so he's got my ankle. Okay. So this foot's still in base because this foot needs to help me generate movement. So I push the bottom foot down, my hips come over, and now I frame, pushing the top knee low. This creates space for my hips to jump. I lift, and then like a magnet, my hips are going to go to his hips. Boom, right here. Okay, if he doesn't frame, that's fine. We're just going to start to push and center our weight back up on top of him. If he is framing, then we can start to attack the armbar from here. And then if he rolls, boom, then we can just start to finish. But again, you know, for those of you who are familiar with this, you can finish with the armbar. If you're unfamiliar, focus on the defense first. I'll show one more time slowly without talking. Let's go, we'll do from like the front view here. And so again, I've gone from a pretty bad spot to a very good spot. All right, don't expect this to always work perfectly. We're just creating movement to deny them the submission and hopefully come on top. All right, any questions about this late stage defense? Okay guys, so let's finish up with drilling this and then we'll get into some situational training. All right, let's go, 1, 2.